Maybe. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like we're not videotaping today, so
It's true.
whatever.
Still should probably try to keep it under an hour.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. I think we got policy to work on. You have homework
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
Wearing a Thompson shirt though.
Happy finals week, everybody.
Happy finals week, everybody. And that's an intro.
All right, welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back, everybody.
Today is December 14th, the year of our Lord 2018.
And the last one we'll have.
Is it?
Again,
the last,
I think we're gonna start this
the
now.
last December 14th, 2018 that we'll ever have.
And what a day it has been.
Truly.
Oh man.
Gloomy outside,
Really,
gloomy
though.
inside.
Very foggy in all sorts of ways.
And God, it's a really good thing we started this podcast in 2018 because every single week is the week that keeps on giving.
Honestly, though, it has been Christmas every single day.
We really don't even have to do that much homework. They just give us things to
No,
talk
really,
about.
though. Honestly, there's no digging involved. No digging.
Absolutely.
We are surface level alluvial diamond mining for
Which
this shit.
is exactly why this is a great platform for, again, two college-educated white men to talk about their opinions because it
damn straight.
requires no work on our part.
not at
Minimal
all.
amounts
Not
of
at all.
knowledge.
And the best part is that you guys keep listening. So
So thank you for that.
honestly,
listening to our
the
opining.
best Christmas gift I will receive this year is the fact that you guys listen to Brett and I talk.
Truly bless all of you.
Yeah.
But for this week, as per usual, we're just going to go over the headlines.
And then get into some Russia stuff because
Yeah.
that's about all that's
God,
happened this
it
week.
has accelerated far beyond what we ever imagined.
Brett, you predicted correctly.
I
This is the
did.
beginning of
I
the
did.
end.
It is.
This is the
Yeah, as I so concretely stated, I believe this might be the beginning of the end.
the gas before the plunge. to
And
quote
it
Gandalf the
looks
Grey.
like I'm probably not wrong. So this podcast, we got a couple things to touch on from last week.
Yep.
Brexit's going well, apparently.
Lol.
There's a Senate seat that's open. We're killing immigrants. Now we're killing asylum seekers. 2020 hopefuls.
Oh yeah.
And everyone's going to jail.
Woo!
We've spent a long time on this intro, so without further ado,
Let's get into it.
we're just going to get into it.
All right, so the first story we're going to get into today involves the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom,
Mhm.
Theresa May,
Yep.
who was vilely attacked last week on the podcast.
verbally assaulted by one
Verbally,
of our
yeah. Yes,
one of our guests. So we
by Harrison
apologize for
Brunch. Well, not really, actually. And if you haven't listened to our segment on her and what's going on in Germany, would highly recommend you checking out last week's podcast. But anyways,
Yeah.
this happened.
What happened?
Earlier this week? There was a vote of no confidence.
Oh my God.
On December 12th. And what this does, basically, in parliamentary systems,
Mhm.
because the Prime Minister, and we'll get into some poli-sci here.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister
we'll
is,
make
is,
this relevant.
is the head of the head of state. So
Mhm.
they're in charge of head of government. Excuse me. So they're the ones in charge of the legislature, passing bills, all of that kind of thing.
Government,
and
that
so-
sort of thing.
Yeah, and they function basically as sort of like our president in that
Yes.
regard. And they are in charge and elected through the parliament. And the parliament is basically, just think of that as the Senate, or like more of the House of Representatives.
I think it'd be a good comparison is like a state government type situation where you have your House and your Senate, except that's all parliament. And then whichever party has the majority, they say, oh, we get to elect the governor if our system worked that way.
Yeah. And so basically, she's just a glorified member of parliament that also
Yeah.
runs the government.
Yes, she's the head of parliament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, a way by which they are able to replace that
Mhm.
and, call for new elections and replace the government is through a vote of no confidence.
Mhm.
For our Star Wars nerds out here, you will already know what this is. They held a vote of no confidence
Uh-huh.
last Wednesday.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And she sadly did remain in office with a vote of 200 to 117.
it's really not that close.
Surprisingly, it really isn't. But these
Yeah.
these votes don't happen very often, and she is secure for the rest of the year because I think they can only raise one per year. But
Yeah,
it
so
was-
something important to note, the reason this happened was there was a deadline for Brexit that came up, I think, on Tuesday, that she was basically like, nah, we're not going to meet that. And full disclosure, neither Adam nor I are experts on Brexit in any stretch of the imagination, but from every impression that I get, neither of any of these people.
yeah, honestly,
experts
especially
on
anyone
Brexit.
that voted for it.
Yeah, but I mean, this whole scheme of theirs of trying to get out of the EU and trying to make a deal and all this kind of stuff, it's like it has just been stricken with problems since the get-go, and it really hasn't gone well, and everyone seems widely unhappy with it, and yet Theresa May has really taken this and is running with it. So a lot of people are very upset. This vote of no confidence did not come as a surprise to a lot of people. I think with how close it wasn't, came as a surprise to a lot of people.
Yeah, I was honestly. Usually these things are not called ever. Like
Yeah.
these are very rare, and largely when they do get called, they're called with two implications in mind.
Mhm.
Either you do it because you know you have the votes to remove the prime minister,
Right.
or you do it because you want to show how weak they are, even if
Yeah.
it's not enough. And I think in this showing. That's what a lot, the conservative PMs that actually led this came out and said that, like, showing that she has lost a third of the support of government is reason enough that she should be fearful and should resign. They called upon her to, which obviously
That's
she's not
crazy.
going to, but
That's crazy that they look and say, "Oh, a third of government doesn't trust you. We should move on," considering that
I know,
our president
considering-
only has a third of government that trusts him.
or a third of the American people that want him there.
I don't know which one's worse, to be honest. But yeah, so exciting things happening across the pond. Maybe one day we'll do a full-blown segment on Brexit if it ever happens. But for that, you might have to stay tuned to this podcast for a couple more years. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think they're going to continue to kick this can down the road for as
It
long
is
as
such
possible.
a process. I honestly I'm kind of there's been talks of like holding another referendum on Brexit, because that's how they got into this mess in the first place.
Yeah,
is
I don't
that
know why they haven't
a
done that yet.
majority of the country voted to leave the European Union, which was very surprising. This happened back in 2016. Great year for elections.
Yeah, right before our
obviously.
election.
Yeah.
We got to point at them and say, "Ha, how stupid."
Yep. And then the next day, you know what? This is I always love hearing about this. Is that the day after the Brexit vote happened, the most Googled thing in the United Kingdom was "What is Brexit?"
What is Brexit? Yep. I mean, you hear that all the time from people that are like, "I voted for it because I didn't think it was going to pass." And I go, "Well,
Why the did you
Yeah,
vote for
yeah.
it then?
just for
Ugh.
funsies." I can kind of see that, you know.
I mean, like,
You go,
I
"Wow,
get
this sounds
okay,
controversial."
look,
Also, what a
the-
catchy name, Brexit.
No, but part of
Leave
me
it in.
understands that like there is an English mentality that of like being high and mighty, especially above other European
Is
powers.
it? Does leaving the EU put you above everyone else?
No, it doesn't.
That's a very
It
American
really doesn't.
attitude.
But it's like in the same way that there's plenty of examples throughout the history of the United Kingdom of like doing this, like Henry VIII and Anglican
and the
Church.
Yeah.
Same exact example. It hurt
Not
the
even
entire
remotely.
country.
Not even
However-
remotely. That was not the English people saying "fuck the church." That was King Henry saying, "I want to marry this lady now.
I
Let me
am the-
break up the church."
In the great words of Louis XVI,
Yeah.
I am the state and the state is me.
So now you're equating France to England. I'm sure they'll love that.
No. See, that's the thing, though, is
What?
that England is above France in the eyes of the English, and it will forever be. And so they're like, that's a French accent.
Yeah.
We want
No, we
nothing
want-
to do
Wheeling.
with the rest of it of Europe.
dude.
We have really taken.
Remember
this.
remember when this was a well-respected political podcast, award-winning podcast. God. So a lot to keep. If we just start calling ourselves an award-winning podcast, do you think we'll speak it into existence?
Would everyone out there elect us as their favorite podcast by two political science white dudes from
Right.
Truman State University that have a podcast? I'm sure we would. I'm sure we'd win
Absolutely
100% of that vote.
category. Absolutely. Anyway, enough about us. So yeah, watch for things in England. Next, bringing it back over to this side of the pond, we have a lot of interesting things going on at home. First and foremost, Wisconsin's Scott Walker. Last week we spent some time talking about what Wisconsin and Michigan were doing in terms of
Fuckery.
Yeah, of neutering their governors, essentially.
The Democratic governors.
Yeah, their incoming governors by passing these bills that would really restrict their executive powers, basically. So Wisconsin's lame duck governor, Scott Walker, signed the bill that did all of the things we talked about earlier this week. There was some speculation as to whether or not he was actually going to go through with it. Some people thought, maybe he wouldn't be a literal pile of human feces, but then he did it.
But that's what happens when you don't have a college education.
So now there's a big question around. I was going to let that go for a minute, and then I realized I couldn't. There's a big question around whether or not the State House can come back in and, I don't know, pass a bill to restore all of these things, or how to go about legislatively handling this, because, again, it is a very low blow. It just, again, politicking at its worst, very cynical. I can't say that I'm surprised. I think the people that were expecting Scott Walker to not do this were a little optimistic. Yeah, or naive and optimistic. So now we just have a bunch of problems presented in Wisconsin with this. What's your take on this, Adam?
I mean,
Tell me about it.
you're right. I'm not surprised that this happened. North Carolina set the example back in 2016 or 2010, 11. And I know it was 2016.
Was it?
We were right. But no, it sets a dangerous precedent that this is okay.
Yeah.
And likely Michigan will also do this very, shortly. They don't have much time left before, they leave for session for winter break there. And it's just so disappointing.
They were in special session, weren't they? So
Yeah,
now
to
that it's
do it.
done, now that it's done, they're going home until. Granted, sessions should start up pretty soon, about a month or so.
Yeah.
Governor being
less than a
sworn
month.
and all that stuff. So I don't know. It presents a lot of interesting problems for an incoming governor.
Yeah, it really does. And the thing that it's not like these things can't be overcome, but what it's going to really take is it's going to take a really good 2020 to force out as many of the Republican state offices as possible in these states in order to hopefully get the kind of reform by which we need.
Yeah.
I think that if these states adopt similar kind of governmental reforms like we passed here in Missouri with Clean Missouri that restrict the ability of people to gerrymander congressional districts and that kind of thing, I think that will really set Michigan and Wisconsin on a path to really overcome a lot of what's happened.
Right.
But I do think that Wisconsin itself is going to face a much harder uphill battle in regards of actually turning the state around from the 5 terms of Scott Walker ruining things.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about this other than it's going to be interesting. It's going to take somehow getting to a point where there's bipartisanship in saying, hey, this is not. And again, I think this is just illustrative of America right now as a whole, of people just attempting to really consolidate their power by any means necessary. And it's not unusual for politics. I mean, politicians are really good at doing that. That's why they're politicians. But there's just I don't even know what the word I'm looking for. It's not the animosity. Just the crude behavior of all of it.
I wish that there was a better way of holding these people accountable for what they're doing.
Vote them out in 2020.
And that's the biggest source of accountability. But
Right.
I wish that there was a better source of checks and balances upon this power, because this is something that should honestly be looked at by the state Supreme Court. But we know that that's not going to happen because they're Republican held.
Well, that, and they didn't do anything that was unconstitutional.
But it should be.
I don't disagree with you. I really don't. It comes down between how you really interpret a constitution. And I'm not that familiar with the Wisconsin state constitution, so I can't speak to that. But the legislature is free to legislate, and as long as they're really not impeding on a number of things, then they'll be okay.
Yeah.
Again, it's just shrewd politicking is really all it is.
I think the biggest thing is what it does here is again, we don't know the Wisconsin Constitution well enough to really be able to dive into the limits on power by which the legislature has in deciding what kind of executive power is actually given to the governor. So anyways.
Another fun thing to keep your eyes on. Speaking of voting systems and voting people out in 2020, interesting story from this week that I didn't bring up to you earlier. In Maine, a federal judge struck down a challenge to Maine's new ranked choice voting system.
Oh, good.
So Maine is taking the charge and getting rid of the single-member district plurality voting system and changing to a ranked choice voting system. So I know this podcast is really turning into the UN, the EU, and voting systems, but we're gonna do I'm gonna do a quick explainer for why this is exciting. Actually, so we've harped on the weaknesses of the SMTP system here in America and how it mostly leads to very non-representative districts.
Yeah.
It forces you into a false dichotomy between most likely two people that you hate. So what a ranked choice voting system looks like is, think about what your ballot looks like in the primary, where you have just a bunch of choices to choose from. Except now, that's what your general ballot looks like. And instead of one part, depending on if it's an open or closed election, so let's say it's a closed election. You're a Democrat. You go and you get the Democratic ballot. It's going to look like it did in the primary. We have all of the candidates. And you rank order your candidates saying, I like this person the most, this person the second most, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, so on and so forth. And the person that wins is the person that gets the most highest ranked choices. And what that prevents is saying, okay, well, I prefer this person to this person, but I hate both of them, but this is the lesser of the two evils. This has a better chance of getting the person that on average everyone hates the least in office, and is therefore more representative of an entire population as a whole. So the fact that that was able to stand up against constitutional muster, at least in Maine, is an indication that this could be legal. This could be a legal change elsewhere. It's not something that we're talking about enough. I think it's something that people are inherently aware of post-2016.
Oh, definitely so.
Just because, again, everyone was like, I didn't like Trump, but I hated Hillary, so I voted for Trump. And it's like, well, if we had more options in our voting, you could have voted for anybody, literally anybody else.
Or for that matter, all the third-party voters that would have put, like, Jill Stein, and then their number 2 rank would have been Hillary Clinton.
Right.
And we wouldn't have lost Michigan.
Yeah, this solves the problem of the third party.
I would be way more okay with having the Electoral College if this was the case. Because another aspect of this that really, especially in primaries, that goes into this is that you actually do find there's empirical evidence that like you get extreme and polarized candidates out of non-ranked systems, especially in forms of runoffs, like as primaries do end up being in. And what further happens, and we've seen this, is that the candidates just become farther and farther polarized between the two of each other, and then that largely just alienates the vast amounts of the voting majority in the United States.
Right. And this is something why people, especially in the Democratic Party, hate Bernie Sanders so much, because they largely see him as someone who went to one of the extremes and is kind of splitting the party in this regard. And it's because we're forced into choosing either what some people view as extreme to the left, or someone who might be more moderate but they don't like personally, like Hillary Clinton. If we had a ranked system, we could have had I'm trying to who else was even in the primary that I care
Martin
about?
O'Malley.
I don't care about Martin O'Malley. The Democratic Party really
Lincoln
screwed the pooch in 2016. But in the Republican primary with the 17 people, odds are we probably wouldn't have gotten Trump out of all of it.
I think this was also even calculated based on like how like voting patterns and such. But if the Republican Party had a ranked voter system, I think that either John Kasich or Marco Rubio would have been the Republican
That doesn't surprise me in the least.
And both of them being moderate Republicans.
Yeah.
Ish.
So, way to go, Maine. Hopefully this stands up
honestly.
against... it got past the federal judge. I have no doubt that the state's going to try to appeal and send it to the Supreme Court.
And all we have to do now is get rid of Republican Senator Susan Collins, and Maine will be forever one of my favorite states. Congratulations, Maine. You're almost there.
Yeah, so interesting.
You almost got the endorsement of the 36%.
Oh, almost. That's worth a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Acclaimed podcast, the 36%. So that's actually a very interesting development for Maine, and something that I'm a big proponent of. So maybe that'll be something that we'll see change in our lifetime. Hopefully,
I surely hope so, and I really hope that other states start implementing this. Yeah. I'm looking at you, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Wanna why? Because you're unicameral legislation.
I don't even know what's going on in Nebraska.
Real strange. First off, they are the closest thing we have to a parliament in the United States.
That is true.
Yeah.
Unicameral system, I still don't understand it.
Me neither. Apparently it's efficient.
So interesting things in Maine. I just thought I'd touch on that since we were talking about elections.
No, I think that was a really great.
We have a couple more things before we get to the break. Just quick headlines to jump through. Today, December 14th, it was announced that Arizona Senator John Keel is stepping down as of January 1st. Senator Keel was the junior senator from Arizona up until 2013 when he retired. Now he had been reappointed to John McCain's seat once John McCain passed away. He was planning on, or at least when he got put onto the position, had intended to stay until 2020 when the next election for the seat was up. And he's stepping down now.
Oh,
which
good. Looks kind of sketchy.
Yeah, in light of all of the things that are happening, it's like, why would a tenured Republican senator see the writing on the wall now and decide to step down? What's coming down the pipeline here? And maybe we'll get to that in the second segment.
I think it might have something to do with a certain vote. Starts with an I.
Yeah.
That the Senate might have to do in the coming
year. I can't even think of a joke right now. I can't think of any words that start with an I. But yeah, well-respected Republican establishment senator who doesn't have to take a vote on impeachment to sully his reputation. I don't see why he would do that.
No, of course not.
Yeah, step down.
Oh, ridiculous.
But regardless, in the meantime, the governor of Arizona, as per the Constitution, gets to select his replacement until 2020. There's a little bit of speculation going into who this was. So the other Senate seat just got through with an election. Kristen Sinema won
Yes, she
a
did.
hard-fought campaign
Woo-hoo.
by 56,000 votes. There was a long recount, but she got there. There's a lot of speculation that the Republican governor of Arizona is going to appoint Kristen Sinema's defeated opponent, Martha McSally, to the open seat, which would just be ironic and, of course, a direct spit in the face to democracy.
Yep.
That the person who loses an election gets the seat anyway. Granted, it would only be for the next
Year and a
year.
half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
year basically. But still, it's
Oh,
not.
wow.
That's not great.
Yeah.
It's not great publicity. There's also some other speculation on a couple other people, so it's not a guarantee that Martha McSally is going to go in there. But God, what a
It's just that's
the
some
optics
crazy
of that.
stuff. Honestly, like because largely in these appointed positions, when the appointment is made,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually done so in a more ceremonial role. The individual that is appointed is precedent has set that you don't take drastic action. You don't really, you don't have a mandate by the people to actually govern
Yeah.
and to
You
legislate.
sit there. You
And
vote
so,
along the party line.
Basically is you don't make a stir. You go with
Yeah.
the flow.
Yeah.
And
What do you think, Martha McSally's going to come in and shake things up?
yeah.
You think
Yeah,
so?
well, I mean, no. I think she'll probably be another just political right-wing hack, but
Yeah.
like I think that it's just kind of
It's not meant to be controversial.
it's not but it is. And
Okay.
It's just the thing that like the fact that she will take a seat in the Senate if she is appointed
Right.
is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like,
I
it's
agree
just-
completely.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Not the time or the place.
No.
Let her run again in 2020.
Exactly. Like this is, especially because like it just looks so shady.
Yeah, so I'm saying the optics
There
of it
is
are
some
awful.
serious rat fucking here, and I want the optics of that to sit in
The
and
optics are absolutely
always
awful.
remind you of Martha McSally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So something fun is going to happen in Arizona. We don't know what it is yet. Hopefully whoever gets appointed will be willing to entertain the articles of impeachment against President Donald J. Trump,
Let's hope so.
which
We all know Flake would have.
we're gonna talk about that
Yeah, we will.
here momentarily.
Ooh.
Right after
so when we
this
come
break.
back from the break.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh man, I need a moment.
Yeah,
We got
absolutely.
depressed.
Yeah,
Lord.
it's fucking sad, dude.
It is. I mean, it's just so messed. And then, like, of course, I get the moment we stop, I get a notification, and it's like, oh, the Department of Homeland Security is defending its actions that led to the
Yeah.
girl of it. I was like, thanks,
Yeah, the
BuzzFeed.
article's actually atrocious. I didn't realize that they had come out and been like, it's not our fault.
Because, like, of course it is. Jesus. Do we want to resync our mics real quick, just in case it does that thing again?
Yeah, we can.
All right.
3, 2, 1. That was a really weak clap. 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Ready?
Yep.
And
Welcome back, everybody.
we are hyped up, rejuvenated, just down another Stoke coffee.
Hyped up and hey now.
This
They don't
podcast
promote. They don't
brought to you by the 36% and not Stoke Coffee.
They don't give us any money.
No, they should though,
Yeah, really. Anybody who wants to give us money for free.
especially a shadow bank.
All
if you
right.
don't get that reference, go tune into last week's
Yeah,
pod.
for real. The great title of what? German sympathizers and shadow bank
Shadow banking in German.
advocates or something. Yeah, that's what it was. All right, so we alluded to at the top of the hour that we have a lot of exciting Russian news to
Oh my
cover.
god! Literally, like one a day. It's like an advent calendar of
Yeah.
impeachment.
Oh, absolutely. So last week,
I think
an
we
advent
just found
calendar
our
of
title.
impeachment. An advent calendar of impeachment. I really like that. It's a nice ring to it. It's very, very topical. So last week we talked about how Michael Cohen, the president's one-time attorney and fixer, as the media likes to call him, is going to jail.
Yeah, he is.
I predicted that this was going to be the tipping point, and now a lot of people are going to start to go to jail. Turns out I was very right.
Yep. Still ranking that 100%.
Yeah, I really didn't realize how quickly a lot of this was going to start.
Oh, me neither. This is insane.
Yeah, a lot of things are quickly starting to wrap up, and it really seems like the president is intimately aware of that. So, great article from NPR, because again, it's the only place I get my news, allegedly. December 13th, What You Need to Know About Another Wild Week in the Russia Investigation by Philip Ewing. We're basically just going to go down this and touch on some things. We're going to get into some more detail later.
Yep.
But first and foremost, Michael Cohen is going to prison.
For 3 years.
But he isn't finished yet. Michael Cohen was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison on Wednesday following his guilty plea to a number of crimes, including 2 that are directly related to the president. Cohen admitted to arranging payments to the 2 women before Election Day, famous Stormy Daniels, adult film star, and Karen McDougal,
who he released tapes of.
Right.
Yeah. Of him and Donnie discussing secret payments.
That was so fun. That was the smoking gun file. We just don't realize it yet.
Well, that was to at least the campaign finance law that they
this is
definitely
true,
broke.
that
was the smoking gun of that one.
Still a crime. But yeah, Cohen also admitted that he lied to Congress about the negotiations that Trump's business conducted with the Russians in the 2016 Trump Tower meeting. The pay-to-play kind of thing where you say, yeah, Russia, help me get elected, and I'll build a giant Trump Tower in Russia, and Putin, you get the top 216 floors for free.
Yeah, $50 million apartment.
Yeah.
Which in rubles is a shit ton.
Which, if that smells like a conflict of interest to you, that's because it might be. You know, it makes me so sad. Poor Jimmy Carter had to divest from his peanut farm when he became president. That man just wanted his peanut farm.
What's
and
wrong
we said no.
No peanut farms.
We said that's a conflict of interest, sir.
And this man said, yeah, I'm giving my business to my kids.
Yeah.
That's the same thing, right?
Yeah. Completely divested.
And then he's like, "Oh, we're gonna host all of our world leaders that come and visit us. Where? In my freaking hotels. You know who they're still going to be paying? Me,
the president, directly." Yeah. So that's gross. This president's gross. This presidency's gross. But Cohen also suggested that he has a lot more to say about Trump when the time is right, though. So he basically came out, called the president a liar in just as many words. I think he literally used the term, the president is a liar. But it looks like he's definitely not done talking to the special counsel about this. I mean, people like Michael Cohen are going to try to get their sentences reduced as much as humanly possible, even though he's going to spend 3 years in a white-collar prison probably playing tennis on the weekends. Yeah. But regardless, he doesn't want to spend any time there, which is good for us because that means he's going to continue to be truthful with the prosecutor and probably attempt to get his sentence whittled down.
Yeah, honestly, like, if Michael Cohen doesn't go to jail because of how much he divulges, I probably won't complain very much.
If it's
that good,
if it's significant enough,
if it's that good,
if he can produce a smocking gun, then I think that's appropriate. The smocking gun. So next, going down the list, this was kind of alluded to, but a tabloid publisher has admitted its role in the hush money scheme. So Michael Cohen, he didn't make the payments directly, as we mentioned previously. He didn't make the payments directly to Stormy Daniels or Playboy model, not associate, model.
There it is.
Karen McDougal. They were basically funneled through this tabloid publisher, American Media, which owns National Enquirer, among other magazines. So those are the tabloids when you're at the supermarket and you're standing in line and you see the headline that says something along the lines of like
the Queen is pregnant for an 8th time.
Yeah.
And also a werewolf.
Hillary
Stuff like
Clinton's
that.
been dead for 6 years. She's been replaced by a clone. The Senegalese president has been replaced by a clone. No, it wasn't Senegal. It was
Nigeria.
Nigeria, thank you. The Nigerian president's been replaced.
Playing basketball up in here.
Yeah, we are very athletic. So the American Media Incorporated, their admission in all of this only further corroborates that, yes, in fact, all of this did happen.
Oh, yeah.
All of this is something that was actively happening.
They bought all of the stories, which is also something that slightly is bewildering me in regards of, like, that people can buy the rights to your story.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone can be bought.
It's just kind of strange.
It's a price for everybody.
To go over some of this real quick,
Uh-huh.
Cohen confessed to making payments of $130,000 to Stormy Daniels, which is an abrupt violation, and also arranging payments of $150,000 to
Karen McDougal.
Karen McDougal. And if that's the kind of money that you get for a Trump scandal, then sign me up.
Yeah, it seems like it's really worked out for these people. Why don't you just hop on board with that?
It's law school right there.
You're not wrong.
See?
Well, okay, they're actually, I was on the classifieds today, they're actually looking for a new chief of staff at the White House.
Oh,
so
shoot.
That's going to look great on a
I
resume.
feel like we're qualified.
I feel
Can we
like
be chiefs of
here's the
staff?
deal. It depends how desperate they get. Everyone, dual chiefs of staff.
Yeah.
The joint chiefs of staff.
Ooh, I think that we'll have to replace that title, but I like it.
Yeah, that's another fun thing that's kind of come out of all this that we didn't really touch on in the beginning.
Yeah, is that John Kelly, his replacement will be probably a Roomba with his face on it.
Right. He's trying to step down as hard as humanly possible. We talked about he testified last Friday to the special counsel, and he announced that, I'm going to be done before the end of the year. I'm going to be done by the end of the year, which actually I think that's the fastest we've ever been corroborated in one of our
predictions.
Yeah, because you guessed it, and then I was editing it, and I got the push notification saying John Kelly stepping down. I said, wow, that was quick.
Yep.
So they've been struggling to find his replacement as the chief of staff. They cannot attract anybody. They went to Mike Pence's chief of staff, who said instead of taking the position, he says, I'm literally going home. Says, I'm getting out of Washington. I'm going to go home to spend time with my family.
Back home again. Actually, I'm not sure he's from Indiana, so I'm not exactly sure that would work.
I feel like he's from, I don't know. I can't even speak to that. But, God, he was a young, ambitious politician. The chief of staff position has to be the most attractive thing in the world to someone like that. And he says, no.
Nope.
It's because everyone's going to jail.
Yeah,
Everyone
genuinely, like,
in immediate proximity is going to go to jail.
oh, yeah.
Which makes me curious to see how Mike Pence gets out on
Honestly,
this.
I am very curious as to see how this soy boy gets out of this.
Yeah. Like, I fully believe that he just walked around the entire time with his fingers in his ear going la 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 la, like, to avoid all of it, but he has to be at the very least like an accessory to some crime.
Honestly, like, I genuinely I would not be surprised if, like, the deep throat that, like, comes out of this investigation is actually just Mike Pence.
It could be. It could be a high-ranking insider
I could see him
in the
being
White
like,
House.
God spoke to me in a dream.
Jesus. Yeah, I actually wouldn't be surprised.
I woke up in a
either.
field of corn, and lo and
God's
behold,
country.
the state of Indiana was created.
Yeah. So, more on the Russia stuff from this last week, because, again, there's still more. A Russian agent is set to plead guilty on Thursday.
Maria.
So, action in this Russian imbroglio shifts back to Washington, D.C. Thursday, when the Russian woman who was accused of serving as a clandestine foreign agent is expected to plead guilty in federal court. For those of you who are curious, we are, in fact, living through a Jason Bourne novel.
Yeah.
All of this is incredibly hilarious to me. Maria Butina was arrested over the summer and linked with a scheme to try to build back-channel ties between the Russian government and the Trump campaign and conservative organizations. Butina has become a cause célèbre for Russia's foreign ministry since her arrest, and she has been visited by Russian consular officials in jail. But Russian President Vladimir Putin has this week said his intelligence agency bosses don't know anything about her. So her story goes back a little while. Butina and her boyfriend, sometime GOP fundraiser Paul Erickson, reached out to Donald Trump's presidential campaign in 2016 to try to set up a meeting between the campaign's leaders and powerful Russians, is all the article says. Although at least one brief encounter followed, the effort did not ultimately connect Trump and Putin. Butina and Erickson, however, continued to move in political circles after the election, including with the National Prayer Breakfast. Her hearing on Thursday could reveal more about how the pair cultivated those relationships and circles of influence with conservatives, including the ones they also had with the National Rifle Association.
Oh, which is big.
That's big.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why a lot of people are talking about Marina Butina, because she does connect the NRA with the Russians.
Oh, yeah. No, and there was, I think we'll see, especially when it comes down to her indictment and this kind of thing, there's definitely some financial ties between the two
Right.
that are hopefully that will come forward if this, if that does exist between them. And it's going to be big.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be revealing. I mean, it really will speak to, and we have no idea how deep these back channels run as far as espionage that's currently happening.
but it seems to be, these roots go deep.
Oh, absolutely.
They are.
There's instruction coming from high up, but I think out of all of this, we're never going to know for sure, but we'll at least get the ancillary effects of how much money is being spent to undermine government here.
Oh yeah.
And maybe it's just from the Russians, maybe it's from elsewhere, but people are so susceptible because, again, with tying the NRA into all of this means that somewhere along the line a deal was struck between some Russian official and someone in the NRA that says we're going to work as a team here because we have some sort of common interest, whatever in the hell that might be.
Yeah.
I really can't figure
It's
that
just-
one out.
Especially because, like, Russia does not have extremely open gun laws.
No.
Because why would...
That's how you overthrow a government.
Yeah, exactly. And Russia ain't about that. Like, they have plenty of arms and a lot of militias that are basically government troops. But, like,
Right.
man, like, they're not a welcoming, country in regards to their two-way, fanaticism. However, I think that, Russia being, especially the espionage wing, is extremely intelligent in regards to, like, finding these pressure points in American culture
Right.
and our system of, of interest groups. One of the most influential and well-known ones that has any form of corruptibility. Okay, real quick. The AARP is not an uncorruptible thing, but it's not exactly
God
like you
bless
go
the AARP.
advocating for old people and Russia. You can do that though when you're advocating for like the militarization of an entire country, and you're like, oh, you also sympathize with conservative values. So do we.
I'm so ready to be retired. Join the AARP. Get all those coupons.
God,
man.
me too, dude. I'm
ready
so
for
ready.
it.
I'm so ready.
Get the discount off my insurance.
Oh,
God.
exactly. Discounts off of literally
It's
everything.
true.
But genuinely, we could just join the NRA as well and get discounts off of so
We-
many things that we didn't know we could.
Could do that, but I mean, if this serves any indication, pretty soon they're going to be put on a domestic terrorist organization
I
list.
hope so.
Because Jesus Christ, how have we gotten to this point, people?
Yeah, really.
The NRA used to be a staple of American culture, and now they're actively working to undermine our democracy.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
Not to mention, they're being funded by a government by which we fought a fucking Cold War
We're
with
still
for
fighting the Cold
40
War against
years.
And I think that's my biggest thing when I say how the fuck do we get this backwards. It's how did we get to the point where we have people who love America so much that they're willing to literally commit treason against it? How did our logic get so backwards? I blame American exceptionalism. Quite
Oh.
frankly,
Ooh,
we
I
boost
love
our
this
egos
term.
too much.
I love
We
it.
said, we're untouchable, we're God's country, everyone must think the same, and everyone else who doesn't think like we do must be smitten to the ground with my Glock.
Yeah,
And I don't know, I guess that's really a message that resonated with people.
yeah. But no, we have that. Then we have this red-headed Russian operative that
Yeah.
literally it's the
Red-headed
movie.
Russian operative, I like that.
That's just what she is. It's
Yeah.
what that one
It's Atomic, wasn't it?
No, not Atomic Blonde. That was
I
a
was gonna say
good-ass
Atomic
movie.
Blonde, the redhead.
No, Sparrow. What was it?
Yeah, it was like, it was something, it was a
The
bird.
Jennifer Lawrence movie.
Yeah, it might have been Sparrow.
Regardless, it's
Finch.
literally that
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah,
Just with
it's wild.
yeah.
It's a crazy time we're living through.
It's ridiculous. But no, the things that Maria Butina has been involved in, from
Yeah.
like basically soliciting herself for like political favors and influence, and also then just other forms of espionage, are just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the original story is something along the lines of like she was put up by the Russians to like solicit sexual favors from like important people in the GOP,
Basically.
which like we have since found that that wasn't the case. But I forget how she even got into the limelight in this way. But people saw the connection, and she's really been
yeah. Oh, yeah.
in a lot of headlines. So yeah, she's going to jail. It'll be interesting to find out what her role in all of this is,
Mhm.
and maybe getting a little bit more information on, I don't know, what Russia's really up to here. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we really have to question what their intentions are. I think that's pretty
No,
obvious.
that's, yeah,
But
very, very much so. But no.
we're interesting nonetheless.
Yeah. Another aspect.
What else we got?
Changing gears real quick. A different investigation into the Trump administration.
Aha.
As the Wall Street Journal recently reported that the Washington, federal prosecutors of Manhattan have begun open investigations into the Trump inauguration committee of 2017.
What's up?
They raised a ridiculous amount of money. This record-breaking $107 million.
Yeah, have
in
to raise all that for
donations
the
for
big
this.
crowds.
Oh, yeah.
Big crowds,
the,
big money.
The biggest crowds in
Ever.
history.
Literally ever.
As well as the most star-studded cast involving everyone that we can't remember right
Exactly.
But there was a
sure Kid Rock
ridiculous
was
amount
there.
of money misallocation, misspent funds that wasn't properly reported. This goes along with a lot of other, with a couple other investigations, such as in D.C. the emoluments clause, that the investigation into the Trump hotel.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of these other investigations that all just really accumulate into one giant fucking headache for the Trump administration, the Trump crime family, and Donnie T himself.
Yeah, it's wearing on him too. I mean, the last part of this article talks about the Trump sanguine, which is all he's not showing up to the Oval Office until like very late in the day each day. He largely is doing less than he originally did, which he didn't start off doing a whole lot.
Golfing every other day anyways. So.
But I mean, people are insider sources from the White House, which those have only been completely trustworthy so far, are speaking to just how depressing the mood is there, which it always has been. But God, this really has to feel like the low points of Watergate without ever having the high points.
Yep.
Everything's just coming crumbling down without really a single thing having. Well, no, they did accomplish something. They did take away money from a bunch of people to give tax cuts to billionaires.
Oh,
but
yeah, they did do that.
Beyond that one, God, I really imagine just
Wisconsin
got to be coming to a close so soon. Yeah, Wisconsin's a shit show.
And why do you have to? First off, you ruin democracy.
Yep.
You
happens.
Gerrymander the shit out of your state.
Well, yeah,
you give us Paul Ryan,
yep.
And then China decides to destroy Harley Davidson in the process. And then what happens?
Is that related to Wisconsin?
Yeah, that's where they manufacture them.
Oh,
that was targeted directly by Chinese tariffs.
Thank God.
And now look at our country.
Yeah, our country's completely gone to shit show just because of Wisconsin.
Also, thanks for Hillary in 2016.
Look like a mitten. Too soon.
That's Michigan.
Is it? I don't know.
Brett.
All those states are the same. That's, the Russia thing is going to be devolving here pretty soon. It's going to be fun to keep an eye on. We'll surely keep y'all updated in the coming weeks. But
definitely so. We hope it's a good Christmas present. Robert Mueller, Santa Claus,
Bobby
coming
Mueller.
down the. Did I say Robert? Yeah, it is Robert.
That's his name. Let's call him Bobby.
Know, regardless, Bobby Mueller coming down the chimney, sprinkling a little impeachment all over the place. And
what story where you told us Santa comes down the chimney and sprinkles shit everywhere? Sprinkling Christmas cheer for all
it's kind of look.
My job is to
Jeff
call you out on
Sessions
these weird
pops out of
man.
the ground. Santa sprinkles shit. That's what the
really
reindeer are for. That's what snow is.
Yeah, really. So we're gonna close out this podcast with something a little fun.
Oh hell yeah!
Just to be a little less depressed.
Granted, like this episode, we're gonna go over an hour probably, but you got the time now. For everyone that complains about our podcast being too long, it's not, because now that you don't have school, you can divulge
school,
an hour. Yeah,
use
that too, people.
You're
Come
welcome.
on.
Good. And also, you can listen to it on 3 times the speed. It's the prime way of listening.
Genuinely, yeah. Brett's voice becomes a normal tone, and I sound like a chipmunk. So.
So we're ending this podcast. We pulled up our 2020 Democratic nomination brackets. Twitter user Jason Karsh, I believe, went through the liberty of making a Democratic bracket in the version of the Sweet or the March Madness.
Oh yeah.
And so we're just gonna kind of go through. Full disclosure, don't know all of these people.
Me neither.
So
Brett,
look to our Twitter page.
Who are our front runners?
From all of this, I think we're gonna go down the list. I'm gonna pick Elizabeth Warren, Garcetti, Sherrod Brown, Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Joe Biden. Unfortunately, I really don't want to see him run, but I think he's potentially got it in him. Stacey Abrams, Cory Booker, and Beto O'Rourke. Those are my.
That's a long list.
There's a long list, but I think that's what we're gonna. I think we're gonna have a very packed.
I think so too.
Primary.
I think so too. You want
Party.
to hear mine?
Yeah.
All right. We got Warren, Harris, Sherrod Brown, Klobuchar, Biden. I hope to see Abrams up there.
Mm-hmm.
O'Rourke, Sanders, and Gillibrand.
I don't even consider. Yeah, I don't. I acknowledge that Sanders will be in there. I just don't want him to be.
Yeah. No, him and Biden are going to be very interesting characters during this time. And
I would love if
and Oprah.
And Oprah.
Why is Oprah not on this list?
She's not running. She's not.
No, I know. But no, like why? Okay, real quick, Michelle, if you're listening, please
don't get her back in the limelight.
I would love to see Michelle
Don't.
Obama back in the
She doesn't
limelight.
need that.
I need her to walk
her be
out
happy.
with Bo running at her feet,
Bo.
and lo and behold, the nation will be like, "Oh my God, yes, this is what we need."
Let her be happy, making her tons of money with her book that she rightfully deserves.
Yeah, you're right.
Staying out of the
You're
political
right.
limelight. Well, that was a lengthy way to end the
Man,
episode.
I'm tired
but
now.
yeah. But that's the fun part of 2020. Is looking forward to this cast of
Basically, we
characters.
promised we would. We took the appropriate
Jesus
time to do
Christ.
that, and then Russia. So, anyways, we hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. This
Maybe
week.
even learn something.
Hope
out
all of you
this.
are enjoying being home now.
Yeah. Have a merry holiday season,
And
ladies and gentlemen.
we'll get back to you in a week because we're still not done, fam.
Oh, we're not. We still got more
we'll
podcasts.
be recording from Kansas and Indiana.
Yeah, we're going global.
Yeah, we are.
All right, start the music. Post roll time.
All right, let's do this. The 36% was founded, written, and directed by Adam Childers Arnold and Brett Combs.
Music for this podcast is made by Purple Planet. Go ahead and check them out at purple-planet.com.
The presenting sponsor of the 36% is Avian Apparel.
Our music editing is done by whoever does our editing this week. Probably me.
Our ukulele muse, as always, is Adam California.
Our cover was done by the wonderful Christian Ferguson.
Special thanks to
Robert Mueller
for
all the
really,
wonderful work he's doing.
man, sprinkling that Christmas cheer,
God, all over the
opening
place.
a nice package of impeachment and John Kelly's resignation. So, anyways, thanks so much for listening, guys. Go like, subscribe, download the episodes. Make
All
sure
those
you
wonderful
listen to
things.
it. You know, if you're listening out there,
Yeah.
fans of the
Out
podcast, and really want to give Brett and I a great present this year, go listen to the podcast on
Just listen
every
to it.
media we have. We're
Just
talking
listen to it.
just all of them.
You don't have to buy anything. Just listen to it.
And iTunes, or not iTunes, excuse me, Twitter. Where's my blue check mark?
We have like 60 followers.
I would like to open that box and have a nice blue check mark.
Okay.
I
One
want to
of these
become
days.
official
Merry Christmas.
with our award-winning
Happy
podcast. Happy holidays, everyone. Welcome to the War on Christmas.
I'm Bert,
And I'm Adam.
and this has been
The
the
36%.
36%.